Setting up.
So, again,
Here you go.
You're gonna walk us through.
You guys are, I'm gonna walk you through this package and then I've got the additional to explain the rest of it. So,
Okay, all right, you're streaming.
You recall it, we need to order it
10:59 or 9:59.
9:59 and budget.
Yeah.
And it's just called to order, and then when we're done talking about the budget, we will just adjourn. So the main person who's gonna do the communication, Melissa.
and then I'll stop and let you guys ask any questions you wish.
Okay. Before we start though, can you just give a quick overview of where we're in the process? So I know that, I understand that it was supposed to have been audited financial statements released by May 1st, but that's delayed because of some issues.
The auditors. Yes, that is where we're at. So I'm proceeding with what? Because the auditor is doing the 2024. It doesn't affect our 2025 operating budget.
Might be
It may have some things that we're working through the capital because of the, finalized grant and assets and all that. So the capital is a little bit where it is always a work in progress. And if there's any additional changes, I can bring that back to council once we complete some other stuff on that. But the 2025 budget, these numbers are what we require to operate.
Okay, and so what's the requirement for the?
I am working to get in here for the next regular council meeting. I have asked, unfortunately, with notifications of they're pounding and trying to get communication going. Where are we? What do you need? What we need to set schedules, timeline. It was a bit difficult, so that's going to be a discussion we're going to have in the future once we get this done and get into our requirements. And I couldn't get an extension because the notice was too late. Deadline for extension was the 15th, so they said just. I was hoping that we would have all clear check marks this year, that we were on par and good, but moving forward after the elections, I would like to have a discussion about people are looking for more.
Under investigations for being late rather than just.
We don't get the gold star. Yeah, so it just gives us that little thing of, we're gonna watch you next year, make sure you meet the requirements. But we've been good about getting everything. And then of course, if there's staffing issues, there's all other different issues. Okay. So let's go right into the package. Yeah, okay. So on the first page of the package, we kind of walked through this on our February meeting. I kept that as because that's really good information for public to why municipalities have about budgets, what's the capital budget, and how we fund their budgets. Now, if we go to page 3 of the document, the budget overview, this is more hitting kind of the summary of it in short form. There's a wide range of key factors that affect our budget. So revenue sources, property taxes are a primary source of local revenue, and that's influenced by assessment values and rates. Okay. User fees and service charges for compliance certificates, enforcement agreements, tax certificates, reproduction of previous tax notices, copying, scanning, lamination, etc. That's kind of some of the fees extra that we want. So it's not huge, but we do have some.
And it goes against the cost of offering, getting those things done.
Yes,
So it's money in, but it's also money out at the same time.
it offsets our expenses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the expenses we're going to incur and all that. So provincial grants and transfers, so we have the MSI or its successor, the LGFF, local government framework and structure. And then we also, on top of that, have the federal gas tax, which has a name too. So that, and that's gonna be shown later on as we go into this. These can fluctuate depending on provincial priorities and budgets, so we don't always have a guarantee, but we will do our best to try and keep you guys informed of where those are at.
And these are the standard ones, and if we find something else, we can look to other grants, or there really isn't any.
At this point for municipalities, there's not a lot, but there's a lot of stuff for,
Might be a green initiative or something like
yes.
that. So we could apply for more, but these are the standard ones, and these they, we don't really request these.
But, well, there's standards of what we can use it for, but we get these.
Yes,
And they're set by the.
they're set by the province.
Yeah.
So these we haven't applied for the, well, other than being village, but these are standardized. But there could be some green initiative or,
Right.
Yes, so that would have to be specific project oriented, and we would have to be shovel ready for engineering and all that kind of stuff. So,
but if we decide not to, yes.
yeah,
And I guess the other thing, if you go onto the municipal affairs, website, so all the villages are separate as far as the grant.
Yeah.
Compared to if it was in a village like the Nile, let's say, the difference is huge from some village to village.
yes, they've got different, when they redid the regulations for this new grant, when they changed it to the LGFF, they've set up different bounds, with cities getting way different stuff, because they're under a different charter. And then how the other communities up to a certain size, to sell up to this, and we are limited with this.
Yeah, and it was the same like when Gatsby was a village. So they probably about 2 or 3 times the grant. And we did, so they had, so we wanted to have codes out there, right? And now they're part of the county, but it's been like a few years.
So, you're right, when we've got specific projects that we need to look at, we can, and I will talk about one of those specific projects with you guys as we move forward, because there is one that I am working on investigating. And I haven't marked it in capital yet, because I'm looking at a different route. Okay. Licensing and permits, so that's another revenue source, our development permits, our RV permits, our docks, our golf carts, those are, anything from there is another. And that offsets our expense. Investment income, so the interest from reserves and municipal investments, that goes in here, and that offsets that too. Expenditure obligations. So the expenditure obligations is salary and benefits, labor costs are often the largest budget line item in any municipality. Utilities and operating costs, cost to maintain facilities and provide services, which is what we do. Service contracts like our waste collection, DIT, grading, etc. Anything that we have to contract out. Debt servicing costs, so interest and principal repayment on municipal borrowing for the regional water line. We have that one, that was the phase one that we will be in that until that debenture term. Most of the others we have been covering under capital grant money, which is, we'll look at that in our budget. Okay. Municipal agreements, shared services like fire protection, regional water systems, road use agreement. Economic and demographic trends, so population growth. More residents mean greater demand for policing, waste management, recreation, etc. Inflation increases costs for the goods and services and employee wages that we have to do. Local economic conditions, one thing is we don't have any non-residential commercial development, so we're very limited on that. And that usually offsets your res.
Yeah.
So. Legislative regulatory requirements, provincial mandate, Alberta government may require certain services, public education, CMP and housing, policing. So there are certain things that are kind of regulated and obligated to follow. Reporting and audit standards, so compliant as administrative costs, and it does. Like when the auditor, we're looking at a budget of 10,000. But it's because we have to do this. Council priorities and strategic plans. Elected officials set priorities, affordable housing, economic development, whatever we do for our community, and that shapes the budget decisions. Public consultation can also influence where funds are allocated too. So this is how we have to look at the budget, so looking at all those different factors. Infrastructure and asset management, so the maintenance costs for the aging infrastructure must be accounted for in the operating budget. That's where the auditors come in and they work with us to do that. Decisions about when to replace or upgrade capital assets have operating impact. Energy saving versus higher returns. So that is a better summary of how it affects us. So now we're going to move into on page 4 the municipal budget overview. This is where all the effects come in. So the administrative services budget for 2025 is $216,381. I'm not going to say the cents. And it represents a 9.23% reduction from the 2024 actuals. This decrease reflects the cost savings associated with the operation of the newly constructed municipally owned municipal office building. With the new office now fully operational on site, the municipality no longer incurs office rental expenses, contributing significantly to the reduced administrative cost. So there is a reduction here. Legislative requirements, assessor and appeal boards. In accordance with Alberta MGA, municipalities are required to support and fund key legislative roles of boards to ensure transparency and fairness in property assessment and development decisions. These include the municipal assessor, whose contract cost in 2024 was $13,006. The contracted budgeted at $13,395, representing a 2.9%. Regional Assessment Review Board. In 2024, it was 921.20. It is increasing to 1,045. 25, and that increase is 13.44%. And this reflects rising administrative costs and board support. The Subdivision Development Appeal Board remains more consistent, with a budget of $504 in both 2024 and 2025, so that's 0% increase. But if there was an appeal, there will be additional costs.
And could be significant,
Yes.
like triple or quadruple.
Well, they say minimum 5,000.
Yeah, so that's 10 times. So
If we end up with an appeal, that's gonna make a big change, or just having that as the mechanism. It hasn't changed in the budget numbers, but if something happens, it will be changed.
It would be tough for something that doesn't necessarily happen every year.
Yeah, how do you budget for that?
Yeah.
Yes,
You have surplus.
that'll come back to let you guys know, guess what, we have an appeal. I need you to,
Prove the cost.
yes,
Well, we can talk about it later, but I know there's no contingency in the budget. That could be a place where we have.
yes, and I think those are things that we should be talking about, but I think if we're, as we go through the budget, we're tight.
Well, that's one place that a contingency might help.
Yes, yes. These rules are critical to municipal operations and required by law. The budget reflects the necessary funding to fulfill these obligations and maintain compliance with provincial legislation. That's all we're doing. Administrative wages and deductions. So wages and associated deductions, including both employee and employer contributions, are estimated at $137,000 for 2025. This reflects a modest 1.23% increase from the 2024 actual amount. The increase accounts for regular wage adjustments and statutory deduction obligations, such as CTT, EI, and other employee payments.
That's covering administration.
Correct. Yes. And it's only looking at those fluctuations that we have to deal with benefits if they go up a little bit, those are reflected. Municipal election costs. In 2024, the municipality did not allocate funds for an election and no general election was scheduled. However, a by-election was required during the year, resulting in an unplanned expense of about $3,600, which was covered from municipal reserves. To proactively manage future election costs, the 2025 budget includes $5,000 to cover anticipated expenses related to the upcoming general election. The allocation ensures the municipality is financially prepared to meet its legislative requirements for the future.
I agree with that for 2025. 3 and 5 years, we include that every year. We shouldn't need to do that every 4 years. Unless we have a by-election, yes, but the budget, I know that's a longer term thing, but
Yes.
to me, that was a bit weird.
Well, it is, but in actuality, you're gonna be reviewing every year and then it
Okay.
changes, right? So next,
What are you feeling about next year?
I'm just saying, but I understood that we,
Yeah, I
that was an unexpected, but we should definitely budget it every 4 years because we automatically know there's an election.
Correct.
Why would you budget it in off years?
well, most municipalities, usually what we did is we made sure that we may not have had as much for a general, but what if you do end up with a by-election and you don't even have anything there? So I think that's where next year when I bring back the revised 2026, yeah, I would reduce that or even just say, maybe we should keep about 2,000 just in case, so in case something happens, we're not pulling from reserves as much.
Getting back to the contingency again, I felt like the idea was contingency, but then if there are things that could be covered in it. In case of
Yes.
appeal, in case of by-election, you know,
Yeah, we could speak of.
Yeah.
kind of what
and
the
then
general parameters.
and maybe like $5,000-$10,000 is an appropriate amount to have in the contingency budget, you know, for stated what, you know, might happen.
And we could do that because we do have contingency built into a lot of this stuff, so it's not like we couldn't just turn around and say, okay, we didn't put it in election, but it's a contingency in this.
Yeah.
So, like, that can all be, but I just base
Historically, how many by-elections have we had in the last? 10, 15
almost
years?
every year.
Well, no, we had two in the last, this term, right? 4-year term, there's 2. Yes.
And then, if it's election year 2025, but the only way you could get the way it's run with just 2 councils is if
If it's coming up.
January 1st, then you don't have to have a by-election because the election is coming.
And we have a timeline that we have to. So that's a further discussion, but it is an election year this year, so we need to have it. Okay, Alberta Provincial Enhanced Policing Requisition. So the Alberta Provincial Enhanced Policing Requisition is a mandatory cost shared by municipalities to support provincial policing services. In 2024, we had 22,379. And in the 2025 budget, it has increased slightly. I did it to 23 because I don't have all the guaranteed numbers on that. Representing a 2.77% increase because the way it's billed, it comes, part of it gets billed into the next year, and so it can, I wanted to make sure that it's covered. So that cost is legislated by the province and is outside of the. So we move on to page 5, the regional service fire protection agreement. The municipality participates in a regional fire services agreement to ensure the provision of fire protection and emergency response. 2024, the cost for the service was $50,629. The 2025 budget includes an estimated $52,500, reflecting a projected increase of 3.71. In anticipation, we have been notified that a new agreement to be negotiated during this year. And this estimate ensures funds are available to maintain uninterrupted fire protection services while accommodating potential cost adjustments under the forthcoming agreement. If there's anything substantial as we work through this, we will try to make sure it's not reflected in the next. Because once we pass this, we're pretty tight. Regional service agreement, disaster services. The municipality also contributes to the regional disaster services through shared service agreement. 2024, the cost for this agreement was $9,900. 2025, the budget has been increased to $10,256, reflecting a 3.59%. This adjustment accounts for inflationary pressures and the ongoing need to support emergency preparedness and coordination. Regional Water Services Agreement, we have the Shirley McCollins Regional Water Commission. We're a member of that commission and contribute to the cost of shared regional water infrastructure through a debenture financing agreement. Payments are calculated using a proportional formula set during the construction phase and remain fixed throughout the term of the debenture. For phase 1 construction, the municipality's payment was $4,355 in 2024, with a budgeted increase to $4,491 in 2025. Just to make sure that there's no lack of funding to make sure that's all covered. The rate adjustment will affect the cost of water used in municipal buildings and my point. These payments support both principal and interest obligations, helping to ensure the sustainability of the regional water system. The Commission's bulk water fill station offers treated municipal water for residents to fill their cisterns. In 2025, the bulk water rate was increased from $3.80 to $4.10 per cubic meter. That's an increase of approximately 7.89%. And this rate adjustment will affect the cost of water used in municipal buildings and the increased expenses reflected in the 2025 operational budget. Statler Regional Waste Management Commission, so we're a member of that. We're responsible for the solid waste disposal and management services. The municipality contributes to an annual requisition payment based on its participation level on the commission. The requisition was $21,660, and it will increase to $22,462, representing a 3.7% increase. This increase reflects rising operational costs and ongoing investment in regional waste. Shared Road Use Agreement. This is our interesting one, which will be coming up for renegotiation through the year. A shared road use agreement is in place between the municipality and Stettler County for Township Road 40-4, which provides key access into the municipality. As part of this agreement, the road ban is lifted on the portion of the roadway within the municipal boundary from the May long weekend to the fall, allowing seasonal agriculture and residential traffic to pass without restriction. Additionally, the municipality contributes to the cost of road maintenance and repair of county roads leading into the municipality. The cost is separately assessed on the tax notice as a per parcel rate. Distinction from the municipal tax rate. So this is distinct from the municipal tax rate. This separate charge ensures that residents benefiting from these services contribute fairly to maintaining the infrastructure that supports regional connectivity and economic activity.
Is this the only item that we have that's on a per parcel rather than?
Correct. That'll be, you'll come, when I come back to the next meeting, you'll have your tax rate bylaw and you'll have a special rate bylaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we do have, like, down the years, you guys would have a option of putting other things on that special call. I think I forwarded that back.
And I'm gonna walk you, as we walk through this, I can be able to explain that better for you guys so that we can get the reflections.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah, as an aside, it'd be interesting just to understand the thought process between having this separate, whether any other items are. And better handled that way than, you know.
Had fire ones before, we've had water ones before, but there is a specific number of things that in G that you can use on a special call.
Yeah, and I think, yes, that's a discussion that we should have after the elections. Where do you want me to start proceeding with looking at in the next budget? Yeah.
Yeah, and like the fire is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
every lot, whether it's got something on it or not, is eligible for fire protection. And we do have fire code twice that was started on the.
yeah, there are certain items, and I think it's good that fire, water, roads, dust controls, these are all things that can be done as in different. All passed annually at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It is good to think of it. Additionally, okay, municipalities' operational budget also reflects a modest increase in water-related costs for municipal buildings.
Yeah, we're in the, sure, oh,
That one should have been.
that's one more.
Okay, I apologize, I just wanted to make sure I covered everything off.
So, but I had a question on that. So
Yeah.
so our water rate is for the municipal buildings and any water we put on the roads
Correct.
or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it seems high, but that's why it's a long, okay.
Yes.
And then outhouses too.
If we had infrastructure in the ground for water, then that rate is $2 and something.
Yeah.
So it's just for the truck fills where it's at.
What, if we have the infrastructure in the ground, it would be what?
It'll be a lot cheaper. It's not forced on the cube, the water, but not the system.
Because I was just there are smaller municipalities that are paying up in the 350 per cube range, and they got lines. So you go, and then there's capital component infrastructure.
Yeah,
costs.
yes, the rest of that monkey business.
Yeah, so this is just like, we know that it's a cube.
And that's if you're gonna put on the regional water. Service.
Yes.
That's what I think.
I apologize.
No, that's fine. I understood it.
Okay, and moving on to page 6, the planning and development. So the municipality's planning and development function includes several key contracted services that support responsible growth and regulatory compliance. This includes a contracted development officer to administer the land use bylaw, a provincial safety codes agency to oversee the building, electrical, plumbing, and gas permits, and contracted engineering services to review development proposals, drainage plans, and infrastructure impacts as needed. In 2024, the total cost for these combined services was $18,169. The 2025 budget allocates $20,980, representing a 15.47% increase. This adjustment reflects increased activity, higher service demand, and the need for professional oversight to ensure developments align with municipal planning objectives and safety standards. So yes, it's a bit higher, but we have been having to have more oversight because
For development.
yes, and we have to be compliant with the provincial codes. Transfer,
So I was just gonna mention too, that we're in line for land use. Review.
yes, we're gonna work on that.
So would that be available from Granton?
If it's a full-blown consultation, full open house and all that, it's a possibility that could be covered under the LG, but I can't give you a guaranteed answer as of yet. I would have to do more checking on that. Otherwise, you would normally plan it in your regular budgets. If this is just to get for the annual development stuff, but for a review of a statutory document, that might get covered under the grant, or may have to be covered by the service. Now, right now, to do a light review, that could be just under the basic cost.
You're not gonna get.
And then that's where we'll have to do that discussion with them.
What's the requirements for some?
A fall review like we did in 2022, I think it was. And then it was a big lots of changes in it. So then that contract, you know, we put it up.
Yes, do consultations, open house.
It's not as complicated. Do much smaller, just
You still have a public hearing either way.
yeah, and it's not as,
But if you've done the major one 3 years ago,
it just needs tweaking because
Yeah.
it's just,
it's just simply fluid.
document.
Yes.
And if we pick up a lot of the stuff that is in the document from people who do development, and they'll say, why? And then you need to scratch your head.
And the major review did allow us that little bit of safety net because we added in the planning commission that you guys, so if there's certain things that we feel they're asking for variances or something like that, that comes to that area first to try and alleviate appeals.
Yeah.
So we've kind of added in a bit of a safeguard.
And that did help them refuse it.
Yes. Thank you. So the municipality's transportation budget includes both summer and winter road maintenance activities, essential to keeping local roads safe and passable year round. This includes costs related to greater contractor services, gravel, fuel, equipment repairs, building operations, ditch grass cutting, and equipment maintenance. The budget also includes wages and deductions for staff involved in the transportation operations. In 2024, total cost of the service was $158,848. And that also includes in the budget, we had to have the road service agreement as part of that as the expense. Because we collected our money, we have to have an expense.
And we,
Well, that's included in this budget.
that was, so last year we did, or this year we did, no, last year we did, mulching, and this year we're not doing mulching, so that's a cost that's not.
Correct. Yes. And so the budget is set at 157,336. This includes the road use, which is we know at 52, representing a slight decrease. Representing a slight decrease of 0.95% while continuing to support consistent levels of service delivery. So we have reduced it. Please note, dust control is not included in this operating budget. It is funded and reported separately over the capital. I do not support it by government funding, it's just probably. Parks and Recreation, so the Parks and Recreation budget supports a range of community services and amenities that enhance the quality of life for residents and visitors. This includes more grass cutting in parks because the grass cutting in transportation is for along roadways. Then you get to your other areas that are more reserved land, which is more park area. And that covers that area. So wages and deductions, maintenance and outhouses and beach areas, purchase of goods and services, equipment rentals, contractors insurance, support for community events such as the Canada Day celebration and Jack Pond winter activities. The budget also covers maintenance and improvements to playgrounds and other public recreational spaces. In 2024, total expenditure was $69,950. The 2025 budget is set for $51,866. So it's reflecting a significant reduction, and that again has to do with wages too. Because of the allocation of time for each one of these roads and stuff like that, we knew that the wages had to be based on what they were doing, was coded to.
So does that mean you increase the transportation for roads and decrease the cost for parks?
We did a slight decrease in transportation of 0.95%, and then we also decreased Parks and Recreation by 25.84%.
So how are you going to
Cut back
maintain?
the wages because we have less staff.
So, and we're gonna still attempt to keep the grass cut the way it needs to, and the
Yes.
areas weeded and all that.
Yes,
With a 25% reduce.
yep. Because
Yeah,
we
with the
don't-
trees, was the trees in there
the
from last
trees
year's or in there last year
and
too?
all those things aren't in.
So how does it, if you, okay, so if the trees were 2024, what was the 2023 budget? Like, was it back to this? Was it closer to the 51 or the 69? That's significant. And it was, so was the 2024 an outlier? Like, was that an unusual one? So if we're comparing it to that, you see an increase, but historically, have we been closer to the 51? I just, anytime you have a drastic reduction.
Historically, what happened was everything was under transportation and it wasn't allocated exactly other than just the basic goods and services or expenses and repair, but it didn't take into consideration the wages because they're the ones providing the service.
So your Parks and Rec prior to a couple of years ago would be less because wages weren't allocated to that.
They're all in transportation, so what
It's too difficult to compare it to previous years.
yes, and this is what we're trying to do is make sure that we are accounting where their time is going and allocate it to the proper budget. Is this perfect yet? No. Is there still more work? But it's better than all of it was lumped into transportation. And so it looked like you don't do anything. Yeah.
Are the expenses, do you have like a formula that you just say this one is 50% this and 25% this, or does each individual do a time sheet where they say I spent?
We're doing a time sheet now, and so if you're along the roadways cutting grass, you are in transportation. If you are in the MR and you're cutting grass, you are doing it in parks.
Yeah.
So I think you're saying is it could be helpful to, as an aside, just have here's total wages from all the different categories, admin, parks and rec, transportation. Here's what they were in 2023, 2024,
So there's a hundred
Actually,
percent, there's a
I
hundred
can even
percent.
go back to 2022 because they weren't doing this until I came in, which was late 2023 is when I started implementing it. So 2024 is the first year we actually have. And then this year will reflect even better because now we'll have comparisons. So moving forward, yes, we can do better comparisons, but I can't really go back.
And summer student wages were all in transportation, even as of last year. So now it's gonna be broken up to transportation, parks and rec, culture, and we're doing landfill wages because if they have to do a dump run or they're cleaning up in there, that's being allocated to the right GLs now too.
Yeah,
So there's that.
we decided to tweak more of this to get better accountability. So we
Okay.
can reflect.
I think that's all good, but, just going forward, I think, like to be able to be stewarding total wages and costs and other things, of course. And then, the issue of making sure it's allocated correctly to the different things is
Yes.
important as well, but, it's hard to say, for managing wages properly, if it does kind of vary from year to year, that's what's going on, but you can say overall, we're managing it and then it's allocated.
And the maintenance staff is, into 4 categories then.
Yes,
And I think what you're saying is then that we should have an overall, this is our maintenance. Now we're spending, a breakdown of this much on roads, this much on garbage, this much on.
yeah,
I think this is great for the budgeting to say, here's all the different ones, but just for us to be overall saying, oh, I've got, don't have a good feeling on this, it's just, big maintenance. Ever overall, it's just
Yeah.
1% or 10%, whatever.
Because it's tucked into so many categories.
and that's why we're trying to get it better because whatever service, if we end up becoming our service, we have to, when you look at it, you want to know the time allocations are going towards it. And so when you make that decision based on the budgets is if you're gonna cut something, then you know what you're cutting.
Yeah, I more looked at a fairly significant 25% plus cut on Parks and Rec, and I was trying to
Yeah.
rationalize that. Well, what is that? Does that mean we're just doing a lot less?
No, it was getting the staffing in line and, yeah,
Well, we'll find out whether we meet that this year and what type of next year, how that might change.
yes. And there could be more changes in the next year depending on as we continue to work on this.
And staff has been.
3 years.
3 or 4 years because it runs out. Most of it's not, it's full time.
Too many people, not enough people.
Yeah, and then like this year we have 2 summer students. And we have 3. Well. And full time students and,
Yeah.
like it's getting level well. So that,
I think this fund reflects that. I'm working, this is a work in progress. But I think that does show the good reduction of we're bringing this into control with staffing. And we'll go forward. Culture, the municipality provides financial and operational support to the Hall Society, which manages the municipal community hall. The Bottle Depot and the Take It or Leave It Shed, all of which serve as important community facilities. These spaces contribute to local engagement, sustainability, and social connection. The community hall budget includes the municipal support for utilities, power, water, gas, sewer pump out, Wi-Fi, bathroom, and maintenance supplies, building upkeep, and wages and deductions tied to maintenance tasks. The take it or leave it shed encourages local reuse. However, when unused items are left, the municipality may provide staffing for transportation, landfill disposal to maintain the site. In addition, the municipality covers power costs associated with the bottle depot, recognizing its community. In 2024, the total cost for cultural facility was 26,329. And the 2025 budget is 26,395, showing a minor increase of 25.
This is where all societies' requests are in that number.
It's worked into there, and some of it might be reallocating from cars and stuff like that, depending on where we're at. Okay, so again, we're gonna do our best. This is still a work in progress of getting how much we do for certain things for certain buildings. And it's gonna get better, but within the whole budget itself, I figured we can make things work.
Okay, but we're trying to get the budget as accurate as we can without having to, steal from this area and put into that area. So does this accurately reflect most of the requests that were put forward?
I think so. But I can't, like, again, the bottom line number is what I am working with to make sure that we meet all the requirements.
Okay, let me ask you a different way.
Okay.
Does the culture facility, there's some pretty much set costs, like,
Yes.
yes, depending on use of the hall, or it'll go up and down slightly. But what is, fixed cost in that kind of, I know they're variable, but variable fixed costs, if there's such a thing. And then what do we have for growth or development? But I know you pull potentially some from a grant that we, if we do something physical, we might
Yes.
get a grant on that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to, is there enough discretionary in that 26,000? Is there enough discretionary that we can cover off the majority of these?
I feel
Under that budget, not under others.
Yeah, I feel at this point in time, it reflects as best as I can accurately look at the minor things that we were going to be doing, which would just takes a little bit of the staff time. So the wages are in there.
Yeah.
Because the stuff off the request by the Hall Society, with the refurbishing of the large grill and the cast iron grill, we've had discussions. We think it's an easy thing that we can work.
Some of them are quite simple, for sure.
Yes, refurbishing the front door, cleaning it, things like that. We think that's we can handle it in minor maintenance. The pressure washing of the building, we've already been doing that anyway. We're just gonna keep doing that. So, the better Wi-Fi, that's a whole different volume, but Wi-Fi is included in the budget right now, because there is that cost. And then, Brad will shop.
Depends where some of that stuff goes.
Yeah, we're working on that. That's just kind of normal routine for us. So the party tent, we already, so a lot of this stuff to me is just, it's there.
It'll fit under the discretionary portion of the culture.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes.
then like, for example, when talking about the parking area.
Yeah, amphitheater.
That would be great.
Okay, so that, and that would be, it would eventually come under the cultural, but it would be paid for by grant. Okay.
And it would be a totally,
Whether it's a capital versus operating.
yeah,
It's just
Yeah,
operating.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because, there's been an ask, and I want to make sure that we've accounted for.
and that's
Good
why
question.
I made sure that based on what we talked about in February, at the end of February, that I have walked through and this is handled.
And then, we're on the side, so the whole strategy is now operating like council. Or
better than campus. I agree.
That is gonna be something that's gonna be coming back to you guys anyway after we get through elections, and we need to review that because based on legislative requirements, if you are supporting, if it's a village asset, you're kind of supposed to be a representative.
On the board of directors.
Yeah.
So,
It would make sense.
So I want to have time to review that and bring it to you guys with some recommendations. So then moving on, we have the library services, which is the Parkland Regional Library membership, and that's part of the budget. The municipality pays an annual membership requisition to the Parkland Regional Library System, ensuring residents have access to a very broad range of library resources, digital services, and programming. In 2024, the requisition was 1,239. In 2025, it will increase to 1,710, reflecting a necessary adjustment in funding to support regional service delivery. Until we get the full invoices from you guys, this is best reflections. Beyond the requisition, the municipality is actively working with the library service to enhance local programming and bring well-deserved accessible opportunities to the community. This includes support for the bike programs, which was well attended, and actually people who go to kind of see it more on a regular basis. So I'll see if I can do work on that. And because that promoted digital literacy and inclusion, as well as we have the kids summer reading program and related activities that foster early learning, creativity, and engagement among the youth. And we've also got the ambulance society, and we are working on a kind of a little CPR and a course in the afternoon, just to educate people on what you maybe need to know while you're waiting for the ambulance service to go in a rural setting. So, yeah, so we're working on those kind of things.
And that's free, that one.
On my thing over here about the poster up, can we take a recess?
Yeah. No,
1 o'clock on.
Yeah, I think you have to do a registration with them, don't you?
But this isn't officially recognized St. John's Ambulance Emergency. This is just abbreviated for rural folks. It's a keep somebody.
Opportunity on how we use the defibrillator or zero can or anything like that. You just become more.
Way more practical.
we can actually pull us, if you got off and show me how it operates.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then also.
That's what I said. At 10:53, at 10:53 for 10.
Yeah.
I got 5 minutes.
Okay. I've been sick calling.
Carolyn benefits.
10:59.
And. Um,
Municipal property tax increase.
So, yeah, so before that, we have. So, when you look at the way the chart, this chart actually reflects all of the operating expenses, including those requisitions we have nothing that we can do about, right? So, when you look at seniors is 5%, then their council legislative is only 2, there's this another portion that's administrative, which is requirements that we have to administer and operate in this quality. 21%, election kind of up to be about a 0, assessment review board is about a 1. So when you look at the pie chart, the largest portions would be farm maintenance, administrative, but education is larger than that.
the education, actually, is over 50%.
Like if you take the education of the seniors, there is your 40% of your operating budget right now. So when you look, when we get to the actual budget number, remember 40% of that is out of working.
And, the educational,
I'm gonna get into that.
that, just as a side thing, that's, the houses came out and.
Okay, sure.
There was a comment that the audio is not very good.
Oh. Here, let me go.
Can I find the other one? We do have the other piece we can cover.
Testing, can you talk over there?
Huh?
All right, hold on, let me read this next one. That's, oh, that's thing. Oh, no, don't worry about it, I have mine on. Okay. Cause my laptop is on, and then I need to, hold on.
Most of you were all funneling.
Oh,
through
hard.
the-
Oh, it's like, hello. Talk down there.
That's a little better. Can you hear it?
No, why is it coming through me?
Sounds good a little bit.
Help you figure this out quickly?
Actually, at this moment, I need to be hearing the meeting, so. That's me though, that's coming from my laptop,
Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Testing.
That's the Intel though, not this.
Oh,
did you know?
well, yeah, to the TV. Right,
How's our volume now?
I'll have to,
Hello? On the Intel.
I know.
I know. We call them not coverage, that's what we can only use it when it's going about.
Frustrating to watch these. We can't do something.
Um, yes.
Okay. Not to be for technical.
Yeah, and unfortunately Zoom still has to be going and. Maybe that will. Really. I can hear myself.
Do you have off of YouTube? Paul?
Can't stop the dream. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Okay. It's just not connecting there. This problem. We just can't find it to pick it up. It's saying into the speaker.
Can you turn that off and turn it on? So you have hold the power?
And it's not making this. Right, and then turn it back on as the brain, right?
Yeah.